Thank you. It is apparent that USDA did not consult with or even bother to notify Congress with this plan. And I'd like to know, did you consult with the American Farm Bureau before releasing this plan, the organization that represents so many of our farmers and ranchers?
Senator, the Secretary's memorandum was the first step, not the
Could
final
you answer?
step.
So you did not. Is
This
that
is
the
the
answer?
beginning of
Could
the
you just
consultation
answer yes or no? Did
not
you
the
consult
end.
with the Farm Bureau before releasing this?
The consultation process has just begun.
You did not, for the record. Did you consult with the Farmers Union, the National Farmers Union, before releasing this plan? When? What do you mean? Yes or no?
No, because the consultation process has just begun.
Did you consult with or submit this plan to the Office of Management and Budget before this?
A plan was submitted to the Office of Management and Budget, and they are aware of our current plan.
1,600 employees have left USDA's research agencies. USDA fired many researchers, including those working on avian flu, only to later backtrack. USDA is extremely delayed in setting out funding for competitive research programs this year, as so many of my colleagues know. To me, these actions completely undermine agricultural research, just as we're seeing more and more animal diseases that are used against us in trade arrangements that hurt our producers. Senator Smith and I have seen the horrific effects of avian flu. Secretary Vaden, USDA's reorganization plan would vacate USDA research labs and eliminate or consolidate offices for the Ag Research Service, the Agricultural Statistics Service. Do you believe that vacating research sites, eliminating offices, and losing researchers will improve outcomes for farmers who depend on this research?
Senator, 91 of 94 ARS research labs are unaffected by the Secretary's memorandum. Further, the Secretary's memorandum states in its plain text that what will go on in Beltsville will take place over a period of years and in a way that does not interfere with any ongoing research. And with regard to where researchers are, I think it's important to note, as you have referenced ERS and NIFA multiple times, that during the prior administration, nearly all of the hiring that took place in those agencies was done virtually, which is to say, the employees that were hired reported to no office other than their own kitchen, and some of them who did have offices in the National Capital Region not only never reported to those offices, but moved hundreds of miles away.
Mr. Vaden, I know you will be surprised at this, but I am not interested in relitigating the pandemic right now, which spanned two administrations, the Trump administration, part one, and the Biden administration. What I want to talk about is now. Do you think that these actions are actually going to make us more competitive when it comes to ag, more competitive when we are dealing with research issues across the world? And how will you ensure that critical research projects will not suffer?
Absolutely I do, because on a government salary, government employees cannot afford to start a quality life in Washington, D.C., but they most certainly can in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mr. Vaden, USDA's
out of D.C.
USDA's reorganization plan calls for closing every one of the existing food and nutrition service offices, both the headquarters and regional offices, and relocating those employees as well. As you know, these programs are food nutrition assistance, which took a major hit in this recent budget bill, except for the states that have the highest error rates. It serves tens of millions of customers every year, including over 40 million SNAP recipients. The FNS has a huge task ahead implementing the bill with these SNAP cuts. Huge transformation that we have decided to embark on. How can, not we, you, how can USDA possibly ensure the integrity of the billions of dollars it is responsible for overseeing with this change and closing down all the offices? Can you provide the committee with a breakdown of staff losses by function? And given our shared interest in the program integrity, I'd like to know how many staff who have left positions related to financial management, program integrity, or management review of nutrition programs.
Senator,
could you answer that?
2 points in response to that. Number one, I'd be happy to get you those numbers, but your supposition that all food and nutrition service employees will be leaving the National Capital Region is incorrect. Every agency and every mission area under the Secretary's plan will have representation and officials in Washington, D.C. And as I know you know well, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is primarily administered by the states. And so what USDA's role is to ensure the states are properly administering the program. It makes sense to move the employees whose job it is to oversee the states into these states that they are overseeing, rather than keeping them in Washington, D.C.
So I've just had a different experience in my own state office, in my own work. I think, like, when the work of our office is constituent services, I have one person in each of the areas, but I've kept people together that have to interact to make decisions and do hard work together and figure out when the constituents call, and we have a number of them with veterans concerns or a number of them with adoption concerns. Having that kind of interaction and having that kind of expertise in one space, which in the case of USDA, already 90% of their workforce, as we both agreed on, is dispersed. But one thing we haven't discussed, given the raging forest fires we've seen recently, given the details included in the USDA's reorganization plan, and as you know, your budget proposed, the President's budget proposed, moving wildland fire operations out of the U.S. Forest Service to a new federal wildland firefighting agency housed in Interior. There is also reporting that the administration is considering moving parts of the USDA's Rural Development Agency to the Small Business Administration. Is the USDA still considering moving parts of the Forest Service and Rural Development to other cabinet agencies? When you're looking at only 10% of the workforce already in one place, and you want to half that, and then you want to move away all the wildfire, are you trying to decimate this agency, Mr. Vaden? Are you trying to do what they're doing to the Department of Education? That's a question I want answered. What about the Forest Service? Are you still pursuing getting rid of that as well?
Senator, the President's budget proposal is before this body. It speaks for itself. It calls for the centralization of all federal wildfire fighting capabilities. That is a proposal that predates this administration, and I think it's one that should be taken seriously. As it goes to the Forest Service, I want to make certain to state for the record that the Secretary's memorandum, again in its plain text, specifically notes that the Forest Service's Fire Safety Lab will not be moving and is protected in this reorganization.
Okay, last question. Why did you tell people to resign and fire them and then tried to rehire them?
Senator, we don't have the money in our budget to pay for all of the employees that were hired in the prior administration. Former Secretary Vilsack, in comments to AgriPulse, admitted as much just last week.
So you're saying that you thought it was a good idea to fire them and then try to rehire them, the same people for the same positions, and you lost a whole bunch of them, veterinarians and researchers.
Senator,
so you think that was a smart way to handle it?
Terminated as a result of the DRP.
All right, I'm done.